Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach and welcome to the Q&A. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hopefully you've checked out the weekend preview. I talk a bit about my trades and what we should be doing and have a look at my plan in terms of the next 4 to 5 weeks and getting through the buys. So check that out if you haven't already. Q&A, it hasn't been consistent this year. It was always going to be difficult to do every single week. But as I've always said, when I get the chance to do it, I certainly try to. So this is one of those weeks where it's been a little quieter for me and a little gap's just opened up nicely. And look, there aren't as many questions as well. A lot of them are also just statements or comments on how I went. So I appreciate them all, so I'll read them out and thanks for your comments and thanks for your views as well. Every press conference has been at least 1,000 views. A lot of them, you know, pushing the 12 to 1,500 mark. So that's really pleasing, so thanks for that. And if you haven't subscribed already to the channel, I'm hoping to get to 1,600 subs by the end of the season. That might be a little ambitious, but, you know, often that sort of thing has exceeded my expectation in the past. So hopefully that'll be good because, you know, I know my first season, I started this channel, I ended my season with about 350 subs. The end of last season, I ended it with 900. So I'm sort of hoping for a little bit of that natural growth. And, you know, as they say, the rich get richer. So I'm hoping that as I get more subs, it makes it easier for me to get even more because hopefully more videos are commented on, viewed, shared, suggested, all that jargon. So I'm aiming for another 700 from my end of season tally of 2017. But anyway, enough of that chat. You guys are probably just wanting me to answer your questions. So I'll get stuck into it. Off the top, Bo Brackley just simply says scored 2,514. So I can understand why he took the time to comment that, mate. That's a very nice score, so nicely done. Hopefully you're going nicely in the overall. I'm sure you would have moved up quite a number of spots off the back of that. Luke Bauer, thoughts on bringing in Tom Jonas into defence after Port's bye. Has a lowest score of 84 and has scored 100 plus 4 times. Yeah, I was looking at him and I've watched him a little bit throughout the season and he is looking really good, playing a SuperCoach friendly role, but I'm not so sure we'd be bringing him in. I think he's probably the sort of guy that, you know, we might let him have this season and reassess him next year and say, you know, could he be a guy that we start with? You know, if he ends up averaging high 80s or 90 or whatever it is, you know, he might be a guy we think about then. But I wouldn't be bringing in a guy that's unproven. He's in some good form, but I'd be a little wary of that one. I understand the scores are good, but I'd be pretty wary on that one. I think there's some better options. I mentioned in my weekend preview, you got Cade Simpson dropping, Michael Hurley's dropping. I know they probably cost a little bit more, but I think you want to have that. At this stage of the season, you don't want to be trading guys that you might have to trade out again. I think we want to be bringing in guys that we're really confident in. So that'll be my thoughts there. Big Ollie Crum. Good numbers, Shorty. Love it. I reckon I'll pull the trigger on Kelly. Yeah, thank you, mate, and good call. I've had a bit of a chat about that in my weekend preview. Killer Creed, a regular in this one, so thanks again, mate. He lets me know how he went this weekend. Not the best week for me. Scored 2,170. Had Fife as captain, which hurt a bit. My 3 best backmen in Lloyd, Laird, and Yo went well. But the other one it was a complete carnage with Murray, 56, the next best. Everything else went okay, though, I guess. And Holman on the bench scoring 122 is annoying. Yeah, that is very frustrating. Holman's been a bit like that. He's been up and down. You just can't trust him. You bring him in, he scores a 40. You lose faith, he scores a 90-odd. But I have Graham, Kelly and Murray who will all drop in price next week. I am not sure which 2 I should trade out. And I think they will probably both be downgrades as I only have 26k in the bank. Yeah, absolutely, and I touched on it in the weekend preview, and my suggestion was Kelly and Murray. I think you'll get as big a bang for your buck as you're going to hope for with Kelly right now, and Murray has been dropped. So that probably answers your question. Although looking at a double downgrade, you know, obviously you're probably looking at Ridley, and then otherwise you're probably scratching your head. So it might not be dependent if you want to downgrade both, but, you know, I think... Yeah, I mean, you could go Phillips and Ridley, but I'd probably be more inclined to do similar to what I've done this week and and gone one up, one down, and bring in a Crouch or an Oliver or someone you like, a Mitchell or Martin, you know, something like that. But yeah, thanks for the question, mate. Ed O'Brien, hey Shorty, 2,238 this week. I have 17 trades left, and Tim Kelly is the only rookie, in inverted commas, midfielder in my midfield. I have 3 premiums to fill in the back line and 2 to fill in the forward line, 100k in the bank. Could make a downgrade and upgrade so I keep a healthy salary. Or, even with Sam Murray, Tim Kelly and Aaron Norton on the bench, I might not need to make a trade. What are your thoughts? I don't have Dangerfield or Mitchell, so I'd have to be butchered that one. I'd have to choose between the two and probably not have both. Yeah, no, look, I mean, the fact is you want Dangerfield and Mitchell in your team at some point. You want them both, don't you? So, who were the guys you mentioned there? Murray, Kelly. Yeah, there's a pretty similar theme here with Kelly and Murray. And obviously, Murray's been dropped. And look, I mean, 2 guys who have started to slightly drop in price have been great players for us. They've gone well up in value. It's been good. So I would probably nominate them. And in fact, I have all 3 of them. And I think the thing with Norton, you know, he's obviously going to drop in value when he goes down or when he gets back. But the fact is he's not playing. So he can't lose any value just yet because, as we know, he went off early, scored 0. So he's going to plummet at some point, but he's still a couple of weeks away. So I'd be looking to bring in Tom Mitchell or either or, whatever one you can afford, but probably Mitchell. I'm only guessing, you know, off the back of that big score last week. Dangerfield's been going solid. I would imagine Mitchell is probably not going to be at that price for too much longer. I think he's fairly nice around the 580, I think. So that would be my advice. Find a way to go Kelly to Tommy Mitchell, and I imagine that'd probably be Murray to Ridley or Rice, or, you know, someone like that would be my advice there. What else have we got here? Radzi 3216, repping the postcode, mate. I enjoy it. 2,344, and I didn't have McRae VC for the loop, so I ended up picking Gawn instead of Mitchell or Cripps as the captain. Cost me a fair bit of points. Yeah, that is a frustrating one. I must admit, I mean, I didn't think, particularly when it started raining with McRae, I'm not sure if this affected your decision, but definitely agree. I probably wouldn't have gone McRae either. I certainly thought he wasn't really a wet weather specialist, and he clearly dominated and has handled the tag really well, which in the past maybe he hasn't. So, but still, you got a reasonable score. Obviously, it's not quite the 150 as you might have hoped, but, you know, Gawn, you still take that. What was it, 121? But, yeah, thanks for the question, mate. Hope you've been well. Max Thompson, what about McDonald, Tip and Woody? Only 268k and could start to put some good numbers in. Nah, absolutely not, unfortunately, mate. He's an exciting player. He's great to watch. He's dynamic. Sort of player you like having in your team. Forward pressure, can kick a goal, run and carry. But he shouldn't go anywhere near our Supercoach sides. I remember back in the day when he was playing off the half back line, actually, and he was priced at 102k. He was a very nice pickup back then. But I dare say that's the only time we'll ever have him in our Supercoach sides. He's just not a guy that we're going to be putting into our sides. He's just not that sort of a player for Supercoach. He's more of an impact player, going to get you 15 to 20 touches at his best and maybe kick a couple of goals. You know, he'll have his days where he does score well, but you're not going to get it consistently, and you certainly shouldn't be getting him in this week. On to Kelly Nagrom now. She's got a couple of paragraphs here, and I'll try and whip through them, and thanks for the comment. As always, a consistent contributor. Gee, Shorty, differences between our side are rapidly shrinking each week. I know it seems to be the case with many teams as we get through the year. They all seem to become so similar, hence draft is a bit of fun. But we now have identical starting midfielders other than Zach Merritt, and Kelly has Josh Kennedy. Our forward lines are even more similar with the same exact 4 rookies and only one difference in the premiums. I have Petrarca and she has Tarantula, obviously Timmy Taranto. Not sure Gray is as attractive as he once was a few weeks ago before Rocky stole the midfield minutes. Yeah, that's a good point. I was reading, I think Gray's had 9 or attended 9 centre bounces the last 2 weeks. And, you know, Rockcliffe has attended a lot more. Obviously, he was playing a different role in the first half of the season when he was not, you know, maybe his body wasn't right. He's now gone into the midfield, right into the guts where we know he dominates, and the scores are coming like that. And we don't want Robbie Gray getting too cold in the forward line. So I agree with you there. When I read that on the old Champion Data email, I did get a little bit concerned. Kelly goes on, in the past fortnight, yep, okay, pretty much goes on to discuss a bit of what I was talking about. The port guy everyone will be targeting next week is Rocky, who is back in his full-time midfield role. Yeah, absolutely. So I'll be hanging on to Kelly for now and turning him into Rocky the following week. And I doubt I will be the lone ranger there. Yeah, that's a really interesting point in getting Tom Rockcliffe. I mean, he could be a nice, handy little option. I'll just see if I can look up his stats just quickly here. But you're right. If you have faith, and I said pre-season, you know, don't pick him. He'll let you down. But equally, at some stage, he will catch absolute fire. Whether it's for 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 10, 12 weeks, he will average huge numbers. And he's now gone 98, 102. He's building. You know, his break-even's pretty low now. It's 26. He's priced at 373. That's crazy for a bloke of his ability. So it might be something we think about. I wouldn't be endorsing it. It's a nice left field bit of thinking. The only way I'd endorse it is if you look at your overall trade plan and you're struggling with other rookies making you money and you need a bit of a discount option. I think that's really good option, you know, maybe for your final midfielder, because I personally think, you know, I just don't have to trust him in. I mean, if I was you, Kelly, I'd be doing that trade this week. I mean, Rockcliffe's going to go up, Kelly's going to go down. So all things being equal, I'd be doing it now. And, you know, it's a downgrade but an upgrade. You know, you're getting money, but it's an upgrade in points. Likely, it's likely, but that's what I'll be doing anyway. However, I'm with you on Sonny Walters. He will also be finding his way into my forward line in 2 to 3 weeks, but he could also be tempting the forward line at his price, although there are plenty of other great forward options averaging over the ton if Buddy doesn't appeal to the superstars. Now, it's a good point. I've been looking at him. I've been looking at Toby Green. I think just looking at a few of the guys dropping, and with Murray being omitted and Norton getting injured, I might be looking at that back line first. I've got my eye on Simpson and Hurley, but nonetheless, you're right, those guys are very appealing and ones to keep an eye out for. Babyface Nelson, 2,470 this week, 90th rank overall. I'm very envious, mate. That's fantastic stuff. Keep us posted with how you're going. I know you've commented quite a few times and been having clearly a good season the whole way through. But, yeah, hopefully you continue it on, mate. You're clearly doing all the right things, so good stuff. Limited just says nice score. Thanks, mate. Appreciate it. Hopefully you've been tuning in lately. Spaceman, excuse me, another regular contributor. Great work, Shorty. Thank you, mate. He scored 2,163, ranked 42,000. Unfortunately, Captain Oliver on debut. Oh, right, yeah, which cost me a fair bit. Cripps, Titch, Holman, and Gawn went big for me this week. Gray and Hibbard really let me down. Ended up trading Duday and Billings out for Oliver and Yo. This week I'm looking at Tim Kelly and Henry out for McLean and Phillips. Might be a bit rash trading out Kelly, but he's at peak price and I want to make the most of it. No, I totally agree. You may have already tuned into the weekend preview, but I'm 100% with you there. I think, as you say, he's peaked in price. Now's the time to pull the trigger. He's going to probably average 90 for the rest of the season, and that's good. You know, it's really nice, but it's not keeper status. So I think at some point we're going to get rid of him, and it may as well be when we get the biggest bang for our buck. Moving on. Mr. Jackson, 99, 2,085, lost by a point. That is frustrating. The other week I actually had a draw in my SuperCoach draft, which is even more amazing in draft because you can see how it could happen a little bit more in Classic, because often of your 22 players, you might have anywhere from 10 to 16 of the same. Therefore, you know, draws are clearly going to be more likely, but in my draft I managed to have a draw. But anyway, but yeah, bad luck, mate. Hopefully you bounce back this week. Luke Molinaro, thoughts on Tom Rockcliffe, priced at 274k. Yeah, obviously touched on a little bit with Kelly just before. I think he's going to at some point have us pulling our hair out. Was that at the start of the season? Now is he going to come good? Because I think if we look over the journey, and I said it pre-season, he's been unbelievable at certain stages, and other times he's just made us want to absolutely go berserk. So at this point in time, it's one of those ones, a break even of 26, something like that. He scored high 90s, low 100. The time is almost now, if not next week. I just don't have the faith in him. As I said before, if you're looking at your team and you don't have enough guys making you money, you want to upgrade elsewhere, you're looking and desperately looking to find a guy that can average 100 but is cheap as chips, then Rockcliffe is your man. But if you're going nicely, you've got cash cows on the bench, they're going all right, you're looking ahead, you're saying, no, I can manage, I can upgrade to a genuine premium in Crouch or Oliver, I can get there. I don't need to save that 100 to 200k, whatever it is, however you're working it. Then that's really the thought process there. I wouldn't be making him a must-have. I think there's question marks on his body, question marks on his trust levels. I mean, the fact is he's let us down time and time again, but he's caught fire time and time again. For those who are thinking about it, and for those who take the punt, because there will be quite a few, you'll be hoping that he catches fire for the rest of the season. And obviously, I just forgot, Kelly, you're probably still tuning in. If you are, clearly Tom Rockcliffe has the bye this week, so that just popped into my head. So clearly disregard my advice for doing that trade this week, because obviously that's understandable. Although, having said that, in terms of the money with Kelly, I mean, you'll be hoping he doesn't drop too much, but obviously Rockcliffe will come back next week, which will be helpful, and then you'll pull that trigger. So now I'm with you. Shorty's a bit slow on the uptake, apologies, but yeah, nicely done, and thanks for the question, guys. Tim Jones has really pumped out a good couple of paragraphs, so I'll try to just sort of condense those. I'm in a similar position to you, Shorty. He's got 17 trades left, similar problems with Kelly, Murray and Henry. He's taking a look at Tim Smith. Cumming has been dropped. He's looking at Ridley, and he's wondering about the job security when Hurley comes back. Just sort of having a look at what he can do here. However, the idea of 550k in the bank sounds very promising. He was looking at a bit of a trade with Duday. If I were to downgrade, should I go with Phillips or hope that Smith and Ridley play like they did last week? I mean, look, I'm personally looking at Smith. I think he's a bit more mature age. I think Phillips is far more of a good pick in terms of job security, but he might just average you around your 60 odd. He might not. He's shown an ability to score well, but I just think Smith has a bit more of an upside in the scoring potential. And the fact that Tom McDonald might be injured, I know he's been named, but I heard on the radio a few foot concerns. So if that were to happen and that foot flared up, then clearly that might be very good for his thumbs up and his job security. I'm not really sure why I just said thumbs up, but anyway, so that could be something that could help us. If you want a straight up answer, I really like Smith. I hear you with Ridley and the fact that when Hurley comes back, so I'd be in the Smith camp, but I think Phillips is equally a very reliable choice and will make solid and steady coin. Then he goes on to say, decided last minute to not trade Dangerfield, but for Oliver instead, which will probably cost me 20k if Dangerfield has a big week. I can get him in if I do a downgrade and upgrade, but then I'm limited on trades during the buys. I feel like I'm going to have to do this to gain some money. Might keep Murray for one more week and get rid of Henry, as he is more likely to score closer to his break even. Well, yeah, obviously, unfortunately, those plans will have been altered with Murray being dropped. I'd hold off on Walters, he goes on to say, until after the buys. His break even is around the 160 range. Should be able to get him around the 380 to 400, which is a major steal if he averages 90 plus, like he was before his injury. Not sure if I'm going to get McRae in this year if he doesn't slow down. if he can somehow score in the 90s this week, it will be perfect. Not sure why I wrote an essay, but I guess I had a lot to talk about. Keep it up, Shorty. No, I welcome essays, mate. I appreciate you taking the time to write that all out and ask a couple of questions. I appreciate it, mate. And hopefully you got to read it out, and hopefully you got a view of this too. But yeah, look, firstly, Walters, yeah, I'm with you there. If we can get him below the 400, I mean, that's going to be unbelievable, isn't it? I think definitely he'll be one to bring in, not this week, but the week after. And yeah, McRae, I mean, gee, unbelievable scenes. I mean, the last, month? Or even 3 weeks, just ridiculous scoring. Unbelievable stuff. But yeah, clearly, unless he slows down, we're not going to get to him. And the fact is, it's not like he's a Dangerfield or anything. I know he's having an unbelievable season, but let's just see when the taggers truly come and really work on him. I know I shouldn't say the jury's out, but I just think even paying $6.40 or $6.30 for McRae, I'm not sure if I'm fully confident to spend that coin on him. But anyway, it doesn't really affect me because my midfield's going to be finished by the end of this round. But nonetheless, it's a good point you raise. At this rate, we ain't going to be looking at him for a while. Hayden Reynolds, 2,432 with McRae VC. And Lloyd, very happy. Yeah, absolutely, mate. You would be very happy. That's a couple of big scores there and delicious to whack the VC on him. Warwick Murray scored 2,303, but I captained Gawn instead of Tommy Mitchell, but moved back to just outside the top 3K. I got Murray, Norton, Henry, and Tim Kelly, looking to trade 2 of them, but wait and see the team list before I do anything and where I need players to play in what line. Also praying Joshy Kelly comes back. Been carrying him for ages and I hope he returns. Yeah, mate, well, you'll be pleased on one count, not so pleased on the other, but as you say, you were waiting for the teams, and as you will have seen, Murray has left the building. So, yeah, I would imagine, well, yeah, we've all got those 4 players, me and you, and I'm looking at trading out Henry and Tim Kelly. 2 cats, I think they'll go. I think neither will make their break even, I should say, and it lines up nicely with who I want to bring in. So it might be different for you, mate, depending how you're lining up and where you're all sort of standing across the whole field. And yeah, as you go on to say, Josh Kelly, you'll be pleased with that because you've been a pretty patient man holding him all that way. Credit to you, but he's back and hopefully back in some good form for all those held him. Sammy Jenkins, you have the same midfield as me, Shorty, but I have McRae where I have Merritt. I traded Zach Merritt early thinking he'd get tagged pretty often, but I went to Cornelia, who pretty much sucked me in. Especially when I look back on it, like you, I thought he'd average 100 to 102 at the start of the year, and now that looks possible. Hopefully he finds something. You might have a few people flocking to Lloyd after these 2 games, but I dare say they'll be chasing points. I'm getting Dangerfield this week for Brayshaw, and we'll get Simpson for Murray next week if he shows me enough. Otherwise, I'd be paying well over for Lloyd and Howe, something I wouldn't do. I'm sitting 2,987th, my highest rank of the year, and if Hurley gets back, I'm sure he and Danger will do a lot better in my side than Murphy and Phillips. Hopefully Yo stays healthy too. Yeah, thanks for the comment, mate. And yeah, it's a good observation on Cornelio, and I've looked back on that and been a tad frustrated. He just hasn't quite delivered as consistently, probably just the last 2 or 3 weeks, but hopefully he comes good. He's still, as you say, a solid player, solid contributor, but we need a little bit more, and spot on in terms of chasing Lloyd and that. I mean, maybe if he jumped on last week, but now he's really starting to get away, and I know he's going big, but I mean, he's in my side, but I'm not sure he's going to consistently belt out these scores. I really don't. I think particularly teams will start to put a little bit more emphasis defensively on him. Callum Mills is out as well for the season. How does that affect his role? Who knows? But yeah, you always want to be careful about chasing points because, you can't get them. And you're always paying that bit more when you're chasing guys who have been in great form. And nice work on the ranking too, mate. You're going very well. A couple of guys you'll need back. I think Yo's going to be okay. We'll wait and see. And Hurley hasn't come back, so you'll be frustrated with that. But look, you're going very nicely. You're really in the mix there up at the top. And Stefan, love this video. Amazing value. hustling, he says. So fair enough. But thanks for that, mate. Appreciate the comment. I don't think I've seen your name there before, so thanks for tuning in and thanks for commenting away. Hopefully see you around in the next couple of weeks. But yeah, that brings a conclusion to the weekend preview. It won't always be back, and I just said weekend preview and I meant Q&A. So clearly it's time for me to have a feed and watch 360. But look, thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate it. As I said, the Q&A is not something I can lock myself into each and every week. It is dependent on how busy I am, what's going on, you know, days of the week I'm working, etc., etc. So hopefully you guys can understand that. But all the best for the week in SuperCoach. Hopefully your team gets up in terms of AFL. I'll be going along to the Geelong game. Hopefully the Cats can bounce back and Gary Ablett can answer a few critics. I think he will this week. I'm still not sure Gaz is going to quite be what we had hoped across the whole season, but you'd never write him off. As long as he can get himself right around September, providing we can make it, that'd be all I'd be asking. But look, I'll wind it up there. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe away if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers.